Hey guys, what's going on? This is DJ Echo of Echo Entertainment, and you are in the element with
DJ Rachel.
We'll be right back. Welcome back. Again, this is DJ Echo of Echo Entertainment, and you are in the element with DJ Rachel. DJ Rachel, how are you doing?
I'm awesome, man. Great to be here.
We're great to be here. We're in a room at the Holiday Inn with chairs. I mean, it's nice. It's quiet, and that's what's important. It's very quiet in here. So, how's your day been?
Great. Didn't you automatically think of Chingy right there when you said holiday? And I was laying down at the Holiday Inn.
That's what DJs do. We equate life to music. That's just
Always.
what happens
100%.
all the time. Yes,
Throwback,
yes.
right? Throwback.
Exactly. So, Rachel, how are you?
I'm so good, man. I've had a killer weekend. Was
Okay,
rocking
let's
the club.
talk about it.
All right. I was rocking the club on Friday.
Okay.
Interesting night. I was downtown Hartford at the Russian Lady. And before me getting there, Kiss 95.7 was throwing something called a meat market.
Oh,
and it's exactly what it sounds like. It's a it's a bunch of men who have signed up pre-screened to kind of mingle with ladies for a couple of hours and kind of see what happens from there. And
wow.
It made for a pretty killer after party. So
okay, then that's what counts.
Right?
All right. I mean, so they so they sign up and they're like vetted, I guess, right? They have to go
think
through
of
like
like
a
the
process.
dating game.
Okay, and then they match them up, and then what
and
happens?
the girls kind of come there, so there's definitely less men to women. So the ratio's
Gotcha.
a little off. The men kind of float around, and I don't want to call it speed dating, but you talk to people for a little bit, and if you
Gotcha.
hit it off, you can continue, or you can move on.
Okay.
To the next. So
Interesting concept.
the meat market.
To me, I mean, that's exactly what you think about when you. All right, so you said the Russian lady, right? That's
Yeah.
what you've been doing that for a while because I see it all the time. So how did you get involved with the Russian lady?
So it's a lot of networking, a lot of word of mouth. So I know a couple DJs in the area, and then sometimes they need people to fill in. So hey, you want to come check out this place, throw down for me for a little bit, and then management hears you and they go, hey, we really love what you do, we love your vibe, and I've been there for about 6 years now or so.
6 years.
Yeah, man, that's pretty long for a club venue, right?
Yes, it is. So, and you do it. What is it? Every Friday night?
I alternate.
Okay.
My private events take precedent, so I book the club
right.
around my private gigs. So I
Gotcha.
try to make it there at least once or twice a month. I prefer Saturdays, but this event was on a Friday, so I said, who wouldn't want to be a part of the meat market?
I was about to say that. Who wouldn't want to be a part of the meat market? All right. So let's go back. Let's go way back in time. Okay. How did DJ Rachel? Now you go as DJ Rachel, right? Just DJ Rachel.
That's it.
All right.
DJ
See,
Rachel.
nice and simple, and she lets her spinning and her mixing and her fading. She lets that do the talking. Okay. How did you start out into DJing? What was the first time you had those like gaga eyes and you saw a controller or you saw turntables? What was the first time?
So I have the most unconventional story
ever
of any DJ ever. So I actually never wanted to be a DJ.
Okay.
Believe it or not. It was never in the ambition or my dreams. It wasn't, I came out of the womb, spinning on turntables. Like that was none of this. So my brother, who's a DJ, has been doing it forever, and obviously little sister wanted to hang around with big brother. And obviously I saw some of his equipment, and back then that was, the CDs, so I would always take his CDs and make my own little burning tapes and stuff like that. But again, never wanted to be a DJ. I was actually a band geek.
Okay. What'd you play?
Xylophone, percussion.
Ooh, xylophone.
Yeah,
Wow. All
pianist.
Right. All right. There you go.
Got a little of that.
You redeemed yourself on that one.
So
Okay.
I was in the percussion section. So anyway, I was around it, but I was never in it, if that makes sense. So anyway, one morning, my family and I heard this huge crash coming from my brother's bedroom. So we rush in, and we actually found him laying on the floor, unconscious.
Oh, wow.
Come to find out, it was undiagnosed diabetic complications. He didn't know at the time.
Right.
But he had a wedding that day. So I was like, what's he gonna do now?
And DJ Rachel was born.
Pretty much. So I went to my dad and I said, Dad, he's got a wedding. Now this is back before there were powered speakers, so there were these heavy amps. You know, you had to know how to hook everything up. It wasn't this like what we have in the back of our cars right now. You actually had to know stuff.
Yeah.
And I didn't know any of it. I couldn't even lift it. I was like a 16-year-old kid. So I was like, Dad, no DJ can't be worse than having me can't be worse than having no DJ.
Yeah.
So I said, you know what? Let's pack up his stuff. Because, you know, everything was written down on paper calendars and stuff back then. So I said, let's go to their house, tell them what happened, and see if they want me to do the best I can and take over. And like I said, having nobody couldn't be worse than anything I could do. So I went there. The bride and groom were completely beside themselves, freaking out, crying, very upset. At first, I don't even know if they even believed me. But having, you know, my father there, like these two random people show up with a bunch of DJ stuff. So I said, listen, if you want me to do this, I will do the absolute best I can. Let's rock it. And they said, okay. They told me what I needed to know, you know, for the few songs that I needed. It was struggle to this day, probably the most stressful day of my entire life. And then I said, if I can make it through this, I can do anything. I mean, imagine your first event being a wedding that you weren't even able to prepare for.
Definitely.
So brother made a full recovery. We're good now.
That's good.
We got everything managed and under control, and that kind of showed him, hey, she knows a little bit more than I thought she did. So when he would double book himself or he needed some help, he'd say, hey, like, you want to take this on? And of course, all DJs have random equipment. You know, we stockpile gear, so old controllers and stuff. He said, listen, you take this, go have a good time. And then the clients ended up calling me back, you know, word of mouth and stuff like that. And here we are, like 15 years later, and DJ Rachel was born.
You were thrown into DJing.
Like literally, like forced into the situation. So
awesome.
Yeah.
So going down that route, obviously you at that point you're self-taught. Like there's no, like did you go under, like did you have your brother kind of tutor, mentor you kind of thing? Like did he kind of show you the ropes while you were going through it? It was just like, all right, give me the controllers, I'm going to go do my own thing.
No, there was definitely some mentoring there. I'm a really quick learner, but I'm a very kinesthetic learner. Like I need to touch, I need to do. So when he was having his jam sessions or practicing, I eventually kind of went in and kind of watched what he did. And then, like I said, the front place, before it went under construction, this was a pop-in nightclub. So, of course, little sister getting in underage places, so I'd come in. And then he'd go out for a cigarette break and say, hey, you want to play a couple songs? So I'd be like, all right, you know, I'll rock it. And that's kind of how I started learning crowd reading.
Gotcha.
And creating sets. And it really was a super grassroots organic growth.
And there was no like, okay, we'll start out with like a kids event. No, like you went right into doing adult type events. You did a wedding, your first one. You started doing clubs to help your brother. Like there was no training period. There was no like, okay, well we'll do this for like 20 minutes. And no, it was like, all right, go ahead and do your own thing.
Right.
Now, when you did the wedding, like you said you rocked it. And I take your word for that.
No, I don't think I did.
Oh, you don't think you did?
So it wasn't a disaster.
Okay,
but
that's
comparing
good.
obviously to what I do now and what I know about what goes in,
right.
It wasn't good.
Now you said that the bride and groom were beside themselves when they heard the news. But how did they throughout the night? Were they like, well, you know, she's all right, she's doing her thing? Like, was it one of those things, or
I honestly didn't get a lot
of
feedback.
They cursed your brother's name? Like,
I think under their breath they did. They were really upset. I didn't get a lot of feedback, and I didn't get paid. So they said, we'll settle up with your brother, and then, like, that never came.
They never settled up.
But that's okay, because sometimes situations, it's not about the money. It really is. No. And I know DJs hate hearing, we pay you in exposure and experience. But obviously, if it wasn't for that moment, I don't know if I'd be doing what I do. So it wasn't about the paycheck at that point. But I didn't really get any feedback.
All right.
I mean, people were dancing.
That's good.
So
but you know what?
It wasn't like a funeral. So.
Yeah, and sometimes we won't get like verbal feedback, but seeing the crowd dance and not leave the dance floor is enough for me. I'm sure with all the different types of events, that's kind of what you want to see is a nice crowded dance floor.
Absolutely. I think DJs, though, rely real heavy on that packed fist pumping dance floor. And
Right.
there's something to be said for even your dinner or cocktail hours. If you see someone just kind of bobbing in their chair, tapping their foot, snapping a finger, jamming on the table a little bit, you got
Right.
them. They're
Yeah.
engaged.
Yeah, right.
So,
Definitely.
more as a veteran here, you pick up on those little
Yeah,
nuances. Back
definitely.
then, I had no idea. But again, having me was better than putting on, Star 99.9 radio.
Exactly.
So,
Exactly. Now I asked Stephanie the same type of question. You being a female DJ, was it hard to get into the game? Was it hard to gain respect for people to take you seriously?
yeah, and I feel uncomfortable answering this questions a lot of time because I don't want to be this, women having so much harder, and I'm good. I enjoy myself. I've met a lot of respected colleagues. I've had great opportunities like
Yes.
this. Like, I'm good. I'm loving life. It's been very rewarding
Yeah.
for me. But I will say at the very beginning, especially being a younger female, it's the helplessness. Do you even know how to set that up? Can you even carry this? Or, people are just booking you because they think you're cute. And you do have to fight through all that. I still today, if you saw what comes in through my message inbox, you'd be like, wow.
I can imagine. I definitely can imagine.
But I kind of ignore it. You move on from it, and that's kind of where my social media presence has come from. Instead of getting mad, I got motivated. Instead of
Like
getting
that.
annoyed
Yes.
by the comments and the ignorance and you can't do that and what do you know? Well, I'm going to show you. So I
Exactly.
started a YouTube channel. I started posting a lot of content on Mixcloud. I started interjecting in forums and helping people troubleshoot their equipment and kind of be a rep for Denon and then writing blogs. And,
Yep.
I've just been really hitting it because I wanted to show people like I'm capable.
Definitely. Now listen, if this is the first time you've heard of DJ Rachel, she is every single day. There's just something that she's putting out there. Something's putting out there on her behalf. You've done promo stuff for Ape Labs, right?
Yes.
Denon, she's always doing the unboxings, right? You do unboxings.
Yeah, I DJ now.
I DJ now. She's just everywhere, and when I ask the question about it being hard coming into the game, it doesn't knock anything that you've done to get here, and you look at where you are now, and you say that it was all worth it. Whatever you did to get here, whatever you had to go through,
Oh no. He said it.
Seriously? Is there a light? Is there a light switch on there?
Here, let me get my phone. I'll turn my flashlight on so we can find.
Come on! Woo-hoo!
There's light switches there. These days.
Yeah, I did. I turned them on. All right, I can edit that. Don't worry.
Okay.
What were we talking about?
You said it was worth all the work.
Oh, okay. All right. Compose ourselves. To you, would you have done it any other way? Like starting from how you got into the game and not really being interested in it, and in your brother, that whole situation, and would you have done it any other way? Like, are you okay with having done it that way? Is that something that you're like, oh, well, I wish I would have done it a different way. I wish I would have gone to school or this and that.
The only thing I wish I would have done differently is started pursuing real business earlier. So I've been doing this about 15 years since like that whole incident thing. But I've really only been running a serious business for about 8 years. So I feel like I'm playing a little bit of catch up where other people a little bit more established in their LLCs and all that. Like I wish I would have started that a little earlier, but I didn't have the confidence.
Right.
And it took a lot of getting knocked down, getting back up, a lot of trial and error. And a lot of people saying, hey, you're a little better than you think you are. Like even with the tutorials and say, hey, I love the way you go through things and I get the way you explain it. So that kind of keeps me motivated and encouraged to just keep moving forward and stuff. So
Nice.